What's happening, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Park Lane Podcast. Yes, I am back. No need to worry. It's just a week off, but good to hear and see all your comments and see Wesley's face once again. For those who keep up on episode count, we're now on episode 107. So welcome to all you podcasters that like to know what episode we're on. Wes, how you doing, mate? You well?
Yeah, not too bad. Obviously, a couple of weeks off because Spurs have had a couple of Sunday games, not been able to get back in time, unfortunately. So yeah, obviously international break this week. So yeah, diary's a lot clearer. So yeah, looking forward to this one.
International break, so it looks like half of our team have taken an international break as well.
Yes, yeah, we've gone full Gillette Soccer Saturday or Football Manager, if you like, and picked rotated team by the looks of it. So yeah. It's but it is what it is, and I'm sure we'll have a lot of good fun tonight as we usually do, Luke, when it's just me and you.
Definitely, mate, for sure. We haven't got any Spurs games to talk about this week, so thank God, no losses to Ipswich to discuss. I'm glad I wasn't. I was about to say I'm glad I wasn't on last week, but actually I was at a wedding and half my mates were there, so I got enough banter as it was from all of that. But welcome to everybody that's in the chat. Just give everyone a quick shout out. So Jay, welcome, mate. I said evening. Make sure you do get all your comments in the comment section. And if you are new to the channel, please make sure you click on the subscribe button and make sure you click on like on the video as well. If you're on any podcast platform, please also do leave us a 5-star review. And I believe you can also comment. So, someone try it out, write a comment, and say, great show, lads, or something like that. And, we'll go from there. But, look, as we haven't got any Spurs games to touch on, Wes, I do want to quickly discuss with you and talk about the kind of main feature of the show today, which is going to be Rodrigo Bentancur looks like he's getting a 7-game ban for his comments on about Heung-min Son that was said, and we're obviously not going to repeat them. Now, look, whilst I believe that obviously any form of racism or anything that's disrespectful to any culture should not be had, the one conversation I want to drop in is I want to discuss also at the same time, side by side, Enzo Fernandez, because I feel like that's important as well. Now, what I want to quickly read out is what I was reading this weekend that, has been said. So they said on Enzo Fernandez, the incident... that the incident took place when he was at the Copa America with Argentina and therefore falls under the jurisdiction of FIFA. But Bentancur made comments on the Uruguay channel, Canal 10, in June when appearing in a personal capacity, not as an international player. And that's why the FA have got involved and handed him a 7-match ban. What do you make of that?
That shows weakness in my eyes, because it's like, oh, okay, if I'm with my country and I'm in and around my teammates, I can almost get away with it. Whereas if I do a personal interview and say something, listen, not condoning what Bentancur has said by any stretch of the imagination, but it just kind of feels like, okay, like I say, if I'm with my country, representing my country, and it's there and whatever, then I can get away with it. Whereas if I choose to do a personal interview, I'm then held more accountable for my words and my actions, which is a load of bullshit, basically, because whether you are, like with your teammates or, going about your day-to-day life or whatever, you should be held accountable for your words and your actions anyway. And equally, what Enzo came out and has done got a lot more, I'd argue, more publicity, because it was a lot more high profile, I would say. I think, the fact that Bentancur came out and said it, apologised straight away. Son has accepted that apology as well. Whereas with Enzo, load of backlash. We had, Chelsea players coming out left, right, and centre, condemning it straight away. But then I suppose if the club put something in place in terms of an educational course, then that's all right, is what it kind of feels like. And that's okay. They've put him on an educational course. Bearing in mind, Enzo Fernandez didn't even get fined for it either. So yeah, it's just a really, really strange one because equally they've both pretty much done something as bad as each other. Realistically,
Yeah,
you could argue that Enzo's is a little bit worse in the sense that he's actually called out a player and was very derogatory towards that particular player.
yeah,
I think Bentancur's made a comment which he has then retracted near enough straight away. So there's a bit more remorse for
yeah.
Bentancur, it seems, compared to Enzo Fernandez. Yet Enzo gets away with it scot free. Bentancur gets hit with a 7-game domestic ban. Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me, to be honest.
No, and look, I'm going to try and kind of explain it the way that my brain kind of tries to understand it, and hopefully it comes across like the right way. But neither comment and neither what either of them has done, should be accepted in any form of life, right? You
Hmm.
shouldn't, say those things effectively.
Hmm.
But how I feel in a certain sense is that Bentancur has said the wrong thing by accident. Like as in just something that he said, whereas rather than Enzo Fernandez has gone, straight in with a song thinking it's funny. Do you get what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it wasn't like Bentancur was trying to be disrespectful towards Sonny or
No.
towards any Asian person. Do you get what I mean? And that's the way it kind of comes into my head. But for them to say, oh, well, because he was on Copa America duty, nothing to do with us. Like, what they should be doing, there's all of this, like, all the players kneel down, say no to racism, and all this kind of stuff, right? But then when the FA have a chance to do something and to really take a stand and to make an action that says to people, this is not going to be accepted in today's society, they don't do anything. And they say, well, it's an international duty, so it's not really for anything for us to deal with.
But then Bentancur was on international duty as well, right?
Yeah, but he just so happened to
So,
be
so
a personal injury.
because it wasn't passed by the Uruguayan FA or Football Federation. Oh well, that then it seems like different rules. But then you mentioned obviously the taking of the knee, etc. Don't forget that was and the Black Lives Matter thing that was on the sleeves. Don't forget that was done by the players themselves, not the Football Association.
Yeah,
So it was the players and all the captains, I believe, of the Premier League clubs at the time that took it upon themselves to do it with backing from their teammates. Not it wasn't an FA initiative where they go, "Oh, we'd really like to do this. What do you guys think? This is our line of thinking behind it, etc., etc." It was player led. So that kind of I think again shows the priority in terms of trying to tackle and deal with racism in this country from a football point of view. Like we've had kick it out for
yeah,
best part of 25 odd years or whatever. There's not many full-time people that work at kick it out. Yet you're fighting a losing battle because there's not enough people then dedicated to the cause of actually trying to deliver change
yeah.
when it's actually needed. So we could be here a long time speaking about this one, Luke. So we might have to move on, I think.
Definitely, definitely. But please do let us know your thoughts in the comments. Look, I'm not suggesting for 1 minute that one should have been banned or blamed more than another, right? Both parties should also. It just so happens that Enzo Fernandez and Bentancur have done something similar, and so it's the only way that we can kind of try and discuss about that ban. Look, it is a shame in the sense of Spurs because I feel like this season he's really tried to step up his game, and especially even when he's come on for like substitute appearances or to make an impact, I feel like he has done. So 7 games is a decent chunk of time, and so Spurs are going to have to deal without him for a little bit. Callum has said it's double standards, doesn't excuse what he did, but should be the same punishment for all.
Yeah, you look back as well, sort of 10 or 15 odd years ago, even maybe, or a little bit around that time. Look how long John Terry got, or look at the sanction John Terry got for racially abusing Anton Ferdinand. Look at what Luis Suarez got for, the incidents with Evra, etc. So yeah, it just feels like there's not one set precedent for if you do something. It's kind of like, oh well, we'll see what happens when we deal,
Yeah,
like when we get the evidence, that kind of thing where it should almost be a little bit like, right, you've done this. This is now your punishment. So yeah, that would I think be a bit more of a fairer way of doing things. But like I say, there's been incidences that have happened where this every sanction has been completely different.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just like I say, it's just one of those where um, if you're gonna do one for something, you've got to do the other person who's done something similar in a fairly similar way.
Yeah, yeah. It is a shame. It's a real shame because, as you know, as we've mentioned, the FA could really, they're probably, in terms of obviously like English football, they're in a position where they can make a difference, but they
Mhm.
just looks like they choose not to, which is a shame really because you know that's what we need. We need these kind of big sanctions that make people think and say, okay, I'm going to think about what I do.
But
Talking,
then, Luke, we're the only country that has a league that is bigger than its governing body.
yeah,
Genuinely, the Premier League is bigger than the FA. That's why the Premier League has, and there's a select few clubs, probably Tottenham included, that have gone to the FA and went, "We want FA Cup replay scrapped. What are you going to do about it?" And the FA have just bent over backwards and gone, "Yeah, all right, we'll give it to you," as opposed to actually putting their foot down and going, "No, crack on. It's your fixture schedule. You guys want to be successful football clubs. This is what you have to deal with." But
yeah,
like I say, it's the only country where we have a league that is stronger than its governing body. It does not happen in any other country. You might obviously in Spain you've got Barcelona, Real Madrid, um, and they probably dictate a lot of what goes on in Spanish football. But to have a whole league that is bigger than its governing body is frightening,
yeah,
and is absolutely baffling. Like I say, we're the only country where that actually happens.
yeah. It's wild. I didn't even think about that, to be honest. Talking about other wild things that happened this week, and this wasn't something I was going to talk about, but I want to very quickly talk about David Coote for a minute with you because this story, right? And I will laugh for a little bit, but there's also like a kind of other side that I want to discuss. But like this story is getting wilder and wilder by the minute. Like, so for those that live under a rock, I like to explain everything, of course. Premier League referee David Coote decided, or someone decided at some point, to leak a video of him saying how much he hates Jurgen Klopp, and then the other fella in it said, that they don't like people from Liverpool, effectively. Throughout the week or 10 days, however long it's been kind of going on for, more stuff has kind of come out where there's now videos of him or pictures of him snorting lines of cocaine, and then how he's organised like a drugs party in a travel lodge after the Spurs Man City Carabao Cup game. Like, just is absolutely wild, isn't it?
Just a little bit. You've got to be careful though, Luke, because I think somebody somewhere will pull up a David Coote picture and put your face next to it and see some rather scary similarities. Is all I'm going to say. But yeah,
Was he
that
saying
was
that I'm
just.
actually David Coote?
Well, I've never seen you and David Coote in the same room. That's all I'm going to say. So but yeah, it's just kind of come out of nowhere. It feels like somebody was a bit bored on the international break and went, "Yeah, we'll have a bit of this." Like the first international break we had in like September, where we had the Barclaysman trend on Twitter,
Yeah,
which was absolutely brilliant. And yeah, it's just one of those where it's like, oh, it's international week, it's a bit boring. Let's liven it up and spice it up a little bit. Um, but listen, I think he's definitely got caught out. Um, I would assume, and I would like to think that he's probably not the only one that either has the same views or
yeah,
similar views. His downside is it's been caught on a video and then somebody has then decided to leak that video. That's probably the only difference.
yeah. I
Um,
assume you don't mean just about Liverpool. This could be about
No,
any
no,
club.
no, 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 no. It could be like referee, like one referee could, for example, could be Mike Dean. He goes, "Yeah, I hate Arsenal." You
Yeah,
know, Wenger's this, Wenger's that. Do you know what I mean? Or Arteta's this, whiny little bitch or whatever. Like, do you know what I mean?
yeah,
So there's probably referees that have those types of views and opinions, and they're probably personal, like nothing to do with the job. It's just like, oh, I hate Arsenal, like da da da. Or like they probably get their fixtures and they go, oh, I've got this one again. Oh, I can't stand him. Da, da, da. But they're probably better at kind of keeping it under wraps a little bit more. But yeah, I mean the stuff that has come out is absolutely baffling, and I think look, there's a part of it that goes, well, he's probably never going to referee again. But then
No.
there's like, well, he's made a mistake, and how many other people in life make mistakes and then get like a second chance or a second opportunity. So look, do I think that David Coote's probably going to work in the and referee in the Premier League? Probably not. Should he possibly be able to work and referee in the EFL? More than likely, because there's nothing there that screams, unless obviously Everton get relegated or whatever. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he just gets a Saudi bag
I
and
was
just
about to
lives
say that.
life.
I'm sure the Saudi league will take him.
So
Only issue is no coke over there. So
I'm sure, yeah. Well, we might have to go over to Americas out there, and whatever. It's probably rife out there. So yeah, it's a little bit unfortunate because from a sort of human side of things, someone's made a mistake and they could potentially lose their career and their
yeah.
livelihoods off the back of making a mistake. But yeah, I mean, I'm just half glad he didn't mention Tottenham, to be honest, because we've had Clattenburg say about with the Battle of the
Oh,
Bridge,
yeah.
and let Tottenham lose their heads. You're thinking, oh, cheers, mate. Like, yeah, thanks for that. So but yeah, really, really wild, and didn't see that coming. It wasn't on my bingo card for 2024. Put it that way.
No, do you know what I don't really understand, right? Is it would be completely different if he was at like an event or somewhere in a party or wherever it was, right? And he was just talking to somebody and the
Yeah,
comments like came out and someone was videoing him, right? But
yeah.
he's like, someone's got their phone like this and he's like saying it to the camera. Like, in which scenario did he think at any point that was a good idea?
Yeah, I mean, he's probably gone to like an after party or something. And yeah, he's obviously, it looks like he's a bit worse for wear.
Yeah. Oh, right.
Um,
So you reckon he's just off his head? Like,
he looks it. I mean,
yeah.
the other video that's come out of him having a few lines, he's probably done a cheeky line and then come back in and someone shoved the phone in his face or whatever.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So yeah, look, I don't think the only people that know exactly what was going down at that time were the people that were there, that were in the room.
Probably
So
not
I
even
mean,
him.
no, they might. I mean, they might remember it. They might not, because it looks like it was probably a good evening to be fair. So
Yeah. The one thing I do want to say about this is like the thing that like concerns me, and it's always good to have a bit of banter. It's also good to touch on the other side as well. As I read someone on Twitter actually mentioned that this is like or could end up like another Caroline Flack incident. Do you know what I mean? Where like
a little
something
bit.
bad like seriously happens, and and I hope to God nothing does, but it's one of those things where like it feels like it's getting like more and more and more pounded on him, and to me it seems like and I'm going to go all conspiracy theory on you now. Like someone's blackmailing him. Like, he hasn't paid up and this is it. Everyone's just leaking all this stuff they've got, like evidence of him. I don't know, right? But, the one thing we do have to remember is like this is another human being who, as you say, is going to lose their job more than likely. He could come up smelling the roses and end up with a bag in the Saudi league, and they'll have a ex-Premier League referee, managing their referee in their game. So who knows? But I mean, that's the other side that we do have to remember is obviously like, this is another human being, and they end up losing their whole livelihood over this. And so, nothing, in my opinion, is worth, that really. I mean, we all
Yeah,
make mistakes, right?
yeah, no, definitely, and I think that's what has got forgotten, is that there is an actual human here
Yeah,
that is probably suffering enough as it is, and now everything, it seems, is just coming out of the woodwork. So yeah, from a human point of view, I do feel a little bit for him, and I hope that he is able to get the help that he needs in order to allow him to move forwards,
yeah.
in life and obviously in work as well.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. Let's move on to a more positive note because Jay said it was a birthday yesterday. So Jay in the chat,
Happy
happy birthday
birthday.
to you, mate. Someone who's always been on in the comments every week. So thanks, mate. Really do appreciate you being on as always. Right, I want to talk about according to the very, the source that everyone trusts, Football Insider, whoever that is. This week we've heard rumours that there's been a falling out with some international players. So this must have happened prior to the international break because half these players aren't even at Spurs during the international break. But according to Football Insider, Ange has fallen out with 4 Spurs players, being Vicario, Udogie, Bentancur, and Romero. What I've heard mixed views on Twitter about this. Some people, part of the Ange Out crew, also the ones who used to have yellow and purple on their banners. But what do you think about this whole thing? If true, do you think it could be, a negative for Ange Postecoglou, or do you think it's just something else that he has to deal with as the manager of Spurs?
I don't think it reflects well on both. And I mean that in terms of it doesn't reflect well on the players, because particularly someone like Romero, who got signed by Paratici, let's be honest, and ended up with Nuno as his manager, and he's gone, right, okay, yeah, I'm going to outlast him. Then he had Conte, and it was a bit like, all right, Conte threw his toys out the pram, spat his dummy out, and then was off. And it was like Stellini, Mason. So it's almost like, how many more managers are players? And I'm talking a bit more general here, but how many more managers are like players going to get the sack? Do you know what I mean? I think with the case of like your doggy, it could be a case of, look, you've played a lot of football anyway. Are you likely to play for Italy 50-50? So look, just say you're potentially unavailable, or look, don't go because you need a bit of a break. Romero was half fit going to Argentina anyway, and there's reports that he's done his foot in again, so he's returned early. Vicario's back up to Donnarumma anyway, so again, chances are he's not going to play. And I think in Vicario's case, if I'm Ange and I'm analysing the games that we've played, I would want Vicario to become more commanding. And I think we'd been through this on a previous show as well, where there was this argument of, actually, is Vicario a young player? And my argument was, no, he's not. So there's that. Bentancur one's interesting, because obviously Bentancur's performances, you would argue, well, what's there really to kind of moan about? Or is it the fact that of this sanction, and Andrew's probably got a little bit annoyed by it and is then going, well, you're playing well, but I'm going to lose you for 7 games.
Yeah.
What do you want me to do? Like, you've kind of let us down a little bit here. But then, having said that, obviously we've seen Ange with Basuma. Ange dealt with that. They've kind of kissed and made up, and Basuma has been, again, on the whole, I would say, since he's come back from his little suspension, which the club dealt with internally, I would argue that Basuma's been really good. So I think it's quite strange, because obviously all of those players are either Italian or come from Serie A anyway. So yeah, I don't know what the crack is there. But I think there's a couple of, like, I look at Udogie and Romero, and their performance levels have dropped and dipped massively.
Yeah.
So is that a case of, right, I don't particularly fancy this manager? Romero, obviously there's links with Romero to Real Madrid. So has that got in his head, and then he's, dropping a few stinkers, a few clangers in there? I don't know. But yeah, it's just interesting. And again, the timing of it is really interesting towards an international break, where we know now, coming off the back of it, there's going to be a hell of a lot of games between now and probably the next international break in March. Like, we're pretty much going to be playing near enough twice a week as well, especially if we get through and beat Man United in the Carabao Cup. I believe we've literally got near enough games twice a week. So yeah, I don't know if Ange is maybe coming from a good place and trying to protect the players, but they're going, well, actually, no, we want to go and represent our country because it's a fantastic honour.
Yeah. Got one, isn't it? Because I think you touched it there. Like, it's twofold, really. It's like, well, the players are the players who are playing the game, right? They've had long enough now to understand this system. Like, I know how to play in this system, right? I know if I'm in which position, where I've got to be at which times. I know if I'm covering somebody wearing, like, it's so obvious, like, in terms of kind of how the system works. They've had enough time now to get it drilled in. I don't think we can keep blaming it as a failed system before we start looking at us. Sometimes you have to look at yourself before you look at, the outside, right? And all of these players that we've talked about, bar Bentancur, who has probably been, at his best, as already mentioned. Let's look at Vicario, as you say, not commanding enough in his box, letting goals go in that he should be getting to from corners, set pieces, things like that, blaming other people. Romero, who doesn't look like he could even play for Real Betis at the moment, let alone Real Madrid. And then Destiny Udogie, I can't say too much about it. Difficult, I think, offensive. So when you're looking at a player in a defensive position, it's difficult. But he's played pretty much every game because he's our only decent player at left back. So when you're looking at these are the types of players who are the ones moaning. It's not like let's say Harry Kane was at Spurs. It's not like he's the one that's going in and everyone's saying he's the one that's kicking off. Like these are the players who are not performing on the pitch. But I also think that Ange also has something to do with it as well, because I bet he has lost his head. Get beaten by a team twice this season now, a team that hasn't won a game all season. Has to be some frustration from his side, but also I think the players have to take some accountability. As you say, how many more managers can be thrown under the bus before we start looking at the players themselves? And I think that's really important. Like, did a video for Spurs Kings TV this week, and on it I was asked for my thoughts on Ange Postecoglou. And all I kept saying was that we need time. We need to give this man time. Regardless of your opinion on him, we need to have some stability at this football club. And, whether that comes from Ange Postecoglou, I don't know. But we need to have something like that because we can't just keep going, oh, it's not working anymore. Oh, the players aren't performing. We're just going to, knock it on the head.
Yeah, no, and I think it's a strange because if I look at the Ipswich game just as in isolation, second goal, Vicario needs to hold it. I don't understand why he's parrying it. Romero got absolutely bullied by Liam Delap, who was brilliant for Ipswich, by the way. So he's got bullied. Your doggy couldn't cross a road. And I'm being honest, he was awful. Like I said earlier, his performance levels, because I think he set his standards so high last year.
Yeah,
he's not hit anywhere near it this year, and I think there's a lot more frailties in him defensively this year compared to last year.
yeah,
Bentancur again is a strange one because I look at the game and I think, well, he couldn't really get on the ball because of how Ipswich set up tactically. They were brilliant. They locked on to Bentancur when one of the centre backs had the ball, whether that was Delap or Hutchinson, and didn't allow Bentancur to get on the ball. So I don't know whether then if it was a tactical thing where Ange is saying, look, you need to be on the move a little bit more to get on the ball. But having said that, again, I think the Ipswich game change needed to be made a hell of a lot quicker. Basuma needed to come on a lot earlier to just give us a little bit of control in the midfield because we'd lost it. And yeah, I think there was, who else was there? Maddison. I think bringing him on earlier would have definitely helped the cause and the situation. But leaving it until sort of 78 minutes again, it wasn't good. And I think Ange in the last few weeks in particular has been more proactive with his changes. We've seen it obviously if we look back at the West Ham game, half time brings on Papsar. He was brilliant. Galatasaray game brings on Bentancur at half time, changes the game because Bentancur again really calm on the ball, gets us playing. So yeah, I think unless they've just had a massive fallout. But listen, it's something that happens quite regularly at football clubs. So people fall out all the time, and it's like, okay, yeah, it's happened. We'll forget about it. We're in it training the next day because we've all got the same goal, and that's to win and be the best that we can. And if it's happened all at once, it was probably forgotten about an hour afterwards. If it's happened, individually, then again it kind of stew on it, leave it a day or whatever, come back in the next day, and they could be all hugging and kissing each other again. Do you know what I mean? So
that's it. Could also be a slow news week, couldn't it? And something that's so like normal, where a big row's happened, which can happen, and then it's just everyone's forgotten about it and and moved on. But to be fair with you, I don't think I'd want to be rowing with Ange Postecoglou. To be fair,
no,
he's a nice guy, but then I reckon he's like a bit of a temper on him.
Yeah. I think I had a coach actually who's the Northampton Town manager, Australian as well. But yeah, wouldn't want to get on the wrong side of him. And obviously, Northampton lost to Kettering a couple of weeks ago in the FA Cup. And knowing the manager in the way that I do, I know for a fact in that changing room he would have been absolutely frothing. But to have a chat with him and a conversation with him, you wouldn't think he could like absolutely lose it. We're talking like Fergie, like hairdryer treatment in the changing room, but he's definitely got that about him, despite the fact that he does come across quite calm. I think Ange is the same in the sense of, again, comes across quite a calming figure, but yeah, get on the wrong side of him and yeah, you definitely know about it for sure.
Yeah, doesn't take any nonsense, and especially during like press conferences. You know, when he gets asked the same question a few times, he just gets like a bit snarky in the end. But you know, I'd be the same. Like, we've got so much to do. Like, why are you asking me the same things every week?
Yeah. Oh. Just me. Just me. Whilst Luke figures out what he's doing, because as you can see, he is left.
For some reason, it kicked me off. I was looking this week at the two. Oh, you back?
Yeah, I don't know what happened, Luke. It was just me. I didn't know what to do. I was just
Oh,
gonna
right.
say I was just gonna put to the people in the chat because I'd seen a video about Robbie Keane or Jermaine Defoe, and I was gonna ask the people in the
Oh, I've
chat
literally just been
to.
talking for like the last 10 minutes.
Oh, well, it looked like it was just me, so
Yeah,
I don't know
your mum has
what's
also said
happened
just
there.
you then, Wes.
Yeah, so I don't know what's happened, but yeah, I was just gonna ask the people in the chat whether they preferred Robbie Keane or Jermaine Defoe.
Could you not even speak?
I could have if I wanted to. But it was literally just me, so I was just there like, okay, well, what's happened here? Like, I was kind of a bit like, what's going on?
Sorry to everyone in the chat, but also those that listen to us on podcast, because you wouldn't have any clue what's going on right now. But we've had a bit of technical issues, and we
Luke
are
hasn't
now
paid
back.
his Wi-Fi bill. There you go.
You know what happened? Because we might as well talk about it now. It's happened. I was on the screen with you, and then you had frozen, so I kicked you out, and then just
Ah,
decided. And I thought what would happen as soon as I saw your face back again on my little side screen, I'd then add you back in when I could, right?
okay.
So I went on the screen and I talked for 5 minutes at least about Spurs Man City, and then it said Wesley McGrath has joined the stream, and then it kicked me off, so there was none of us
Right.
on. So then I added us both back in and thought I'll just carry on where I left off.
So, flip side, you were frozen and
What?
I was still live, and then all of a sudden you just disappeared, leaving me on the screen like on my own
When
whilst the live was still ticking. And then all of a sudden I was a bit like, well, what's going on here? And I was just about to talk, and then all of a sudden you reappeared as if by magic.
Weird. So like where I'd kicked you off on your screen, I'd kicked myself off.
Yeah,
That is
must
mental.
have. Yeah.
So I've left you because I've thought, oh, he's still got a black screen, so therefore he's like disappeared. And then just thought I'll just carry on with the show.
Ah. Fair enough. Fair
Anyway,
enough. Be interesting to see what the people that are watching this on YouTube got.
yeah, well, your mom did say,
It was just me.
yeah, just you then, Wes.
So
So
yeah.
yeah, looks like I was the one in the wrong there. Sorry, everyone. And I bet this is incredible audio experience. So do leave us a 5-star review whilst you're there. Anyway, that's the only issue with using an audio from a live show on your podcast. But hey ho. Let's talk about Spurs and Man City for a minute, because obviously it's us away at City on Saturday night. Sorry, 5:30 p.m. kickoff. I was talking actually in the week, especially when I did this video that I told you about Ange Postecoglou.
Yeah.
Because I had a little look at the different stats between us and Man City, right? And this is what I found quite interesting, is that Manchester City are sitting second in the Premier League. They scored 22 goals and conceded 13, right? And have 23 points. Spurs are sitting 10th in the league, have scored 23 goals and conceded 13. So we scored 1 goal more than Man City, conceded the exact same amount, yet we're only on 16 points. So it's really interesting to show, like, from a statistical goals scored and goals against point of view, that we are as good as Manchester City, yet we sit a lot further down the league because effectively we can't win games and they can. And so I don't necessarily think we're conceding too many goals. We're having too many, not scoring enough goals, because the stats don't lie on that. We've scored probably now, I'm looking at the table now, the most amount of goals out of any team in the Premier League this season. It's just, we have lost a lot more games, 5 games. And the teams around us, Villa 3, Newcastle 3, Fulham 3, Brighton 2, Forest 2. That's the difference in this league, is the losses that we've had. But I also mentioned while you were gone about how I don't ever worry about Man City when we play Man City. It's not one of those games like an Arsenal or a Chelsea where I'm actually thinking, oh, how are we going to win this game? I'm not. I don't think we're always going to win, but I'm also not oh, we're going to get dicked here.
Yeah, it's a strange one because we seem to do really, really well against Man City for some mad, bizarre reason. And this is typical Tottenham this year because we've beaten Man City in the cup, yet we've lost to Ipswich and Palace, who hadn't won a game all season. If you could sum up Tottenham, that is it right there. But yeah, it's a game that I always look forward to because I think over the years in particular, we've always had good games against Man City. So this is even before Pep and everything else. The games between Spurs and Man City, as I say, have always been good. Obviously, a lot of drama in some of them, as well. So yeah, I am looking forward to it. I will be in attendance as well. So I will be going up to the Etihad on Saturday. So yeah, like I say, it's just one that I'm really looking forward to. Lots of good players on show. And obviously, when we went there last year without a centre back, and still dunked on them in the 90th minute with Kulusevski, it's just absolute limbs in the away end. So more of the same, please, gents.
Yeah, 100%. Okay, we're at the Etihad, but I still go back to the game. I think it was under Antonio Conte away against City with late drama in that game. It's always a game. I'm not bothered whether it's home or away, to be honest. And as I said, I don't think we're just going to go and walk over Man City. But at the same time, I'm not worried.
As a City fan, though, you must be fuming and raging. Pretty much against the majority of the league, you're gonna pick up a result, and then it's Tottenham come to town, and we're oh no, here we go. Do you know what I mean? It's just so bizarre. And again, you mentioned that the game under Antonio Conte, again, that was one that I was at as well. So again, that was another really good performance away at the Etihad. So yeah, and I think just going back onto your point with regards to the stats in terms of goals scored, etc. It feels like when we win, which is obviously one game, but we seem to win by quite a few goals. So I think that's where obviously our goal tally has come from. But then when we lose, it's kind of by like the odd goal here and there. Like we haven't really had a team come and properly give us a good old hide in like a 3-4 niller. So yeah, but I think when we, like I say, when we have won fairly well and fairly convincingly, and we've managed to get a few goals in there, which has been quite nice. I'm thinking first game that comes to my head straight away was United away, and then Everton at home. Obviously, I think that was 7 goals in those 2 games. So yeah, I think, like I say, when we win, we seem to get a few goals, and when we lose, it is by the odd goal. But I mean, the fact that we've lost sort of 5 games already isn't great, and it means then coming into the middle part and the second half of the season, it does give us a little bit of a mountain to climb in terms of the ambitions of what we want to achieve this year.
Yeah, definitely. Look, we've won 5 games. We've lost 1, but we've also we've drawn 1, but we've lost 5.
Mm.
Other teams around us: Villa 1-5, drawn 3, lost 3. Newcastle 1-5, drawn 3, lost 3. Fulham same. Brighton drawn 4, lost 2, 1-5. Same. That's the same with Forest as well. Same with Arsenal. Look, we are only 3 points behind third Chelsea in the Premier League. Like, let's not forget we're sitting in 10th, but we could, if we'd have beaten Ipswich, we'd have been, in the top 4 more than likely. And so it's something that, like, the people online that want to always throw Spurs under the bus, that's apparently Spurs fans, love to see when we're this far down. But when you realistically look at it, 1 win can change all of that. And so it's just about us coming back. I think for Spurs, like, the international break has come at an all right time. Yes, it's not ideal that players are going to be flying, halfway around the world on international duty. Talking about that, Wes, have you seen that Jordan Ayew goal, by the way?
I haven't actually. No, I'm not gonna sit here and say that I have seen it.
Right.
To be fair,
There's some free kick from like 40 yards into the top corner.
I mean, I'm surprised the guy's still playing football. He must be about 40.
Mate, it was just unreal. And it just reminded me when I remembered that goal, I thought how far half of these players have to fly to their home countries to play in some international games. But look, might have come at the right time for Spurs. I think, when you look at them statistically, we're definitely going in the right direction in my eyes, in terms of, how many goals we're still scoring without the great Harry Kane. So it's just about now that consistency and seeing games out, I think.
Yeah, no, and I think I'd look at Spurs. Obviously, you mentioned about the fact that if we'd have beaten Ipswich, we'd be sort of in and around the top 4. And I think this is where like the frustration from fans comes in, because we have a really good when we have a really good opportunity to capitalize on other things that have happened across the other sort of games, in the weekend, we never ever seem to take advantage. And I think it's just one of those where I think, like, as fans, we've just sort of had enough of it now, because we've seen it year upon year upon year. When I look at sort of Ange's time at Spurs and like the team, it's almost like when we win and we play well, there are shades of Pochettino Tottenham in there, in the fact that we can be really dominant, and etc. But then when we lose or when we play badly, it is like watching AVB's Tottenham, where it's just slow and boring. And there's no in between. So we're very Jekyll and Hyde in that respect. So I think we just need to get that sort of happy medium, like, going away to, say, for example, somewhere and just scraping a 1-0 win. Like, we've played awful, but we've ended up getting the points. So then you overlook the performance by the fact of, well, we picked up a win. So, that's the most important thing. So I think, for this team and this group of players, that's the next step in the evolution of this group, I think.
Yeah, it seems like for some reason in certain games they don't seem to be able to get up for it.
Yeah.
It's just so slow and so boring, and like that's not how Ange would want the team to play. So I don't really understand. There's something not right as why they're playing like that. But I suppose I don't think we'll ever really know.
No.
If it is the fact they can't get up for it, then that's another reason. What you do have to look at Ange as well in that and say, why can't you get the players up for it? But interesting, right? everyone's favourite time, the score predictors. And if you've been watching the group chat closely, Wes, nobody has put their scores in the group chat.
No, so because Dave and Callum, I believe, were on last week, so I think they did their scores last week.
Oh, okay.
But I did then, because then they tried to give us, that is, me, you, and Winnie, some outrageous scores. Dave put it in the chat, and I'm not saying all heroes wear capes, but I've saved our skins because I did turn around and say, oh, actually, we're going to have a show before then, so didn't need to put our scores in.
Do you know what the scores were?
Let me find them, and then I will let you know.
So did Winnie put his in? No.
I don't think he has.
Oh, at least we've got the wheel ready so that we can...
Let's have a look what we got. So, yeah, so David said score predictor. Me, you, and Winnie were all 5-0 Tottenham, which, against City, wouldn't put it past. Cal went 2-1 City, and Dave has gone 3-1 City.
Right, 2-1 City. See, what they've done there is they've gone reactionary after losing to Ipswich and shit themselves and said we're going to get beat by City, rather than I've now got a level head and I will not be doing that. You said Dave said 3-1 City.
Yes.
I couldn't dare listen back or tune in last week because I tell you why. Because last week I was at a wedding, right? So I couldn't attend. It was an unreal wedding. My friend from Serbia and all the Serbian family were there, and it was absolutely killer. And then on the way back, it was like miles away. And everyone knows I live in Scotland, right? So I had to get a 5-hour train home the next day. And I was absolutely smashed. And yeah, it was just an absolute killer. So I was like, there's no chance. I'm listening to us rant about how badly we played. I haven't even watched the highlights of the Ipswich game. I'm that like just going to forget it ever existed and move on, I think.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't miss much from the Ipswich game anyway, because we were terrible. But yeah, it just wasn't a good day for Spurs against Ipswich, to be honest. Like I say, we were terrible.
Johnny said 3-3 draw.
Yeah.
Your mum has gone for the same score that I'm going for, 3-2 Spurs.
Oh, okay.
What are you going for?
I was going to go 3-2 as well, to be fair. I was. Do you know what? I'm going to go 4-3 Spurs. Why not?
What a game.
Yeah, I've just got shades of like 2019 all over again.
Oh, I love that.
Just a shame we haven't got Fernando Llorente because he's got the best hip in football.
Exactly. Right, and then we've got the wheel out.
This is for Winnie because 2 weeks. He's had 2 weeks and he's still not done it.
I know, yeah. The thing is, Dave kind of like spun the wheel and gone 5-0. He's just giving everyone 5-0 to City.
He has.
What a scumbag. He's not even done it properly. Right, here we go. This is for Winnie. I'll do it fairly. Winnie's had good luck with the wheel this season.
I know.
Oh my God. 4-2 Spurs.
Okay.
I mean, it's not the worst one in the world, is it?
No.
Right, so... Sorry.
Could have been a lot worse for Winnie, that's for sure. He's done all right.
Right, so that brings us to... Oh, your dad has gone 3-2, but I don't know if he's gone 3-2 Spurs or 3-2 City.
It'll definitely go 3-2 Spurs, trust me.
After he's gone, Coys. So 3-2 City, Coys.
No, that'll definitely be 3-2 Spurs.
Good lad. That's what I like to see.
I hope so anyway, because I'll be next to him.
I've gone 3-2 Spurs. Winnie has gone 4-2 Spurs. Dave has gone 3-1 City. You've gone 4-3 Spurs, and Callum has gone 2-1 City. So those are the locked-in scores. Look, I'm in charge of the tables, the predictors, everything. So those are the now locked-in scores. And we will see how we get on. Nothing changed on the score predictor table last week. So I believe Winnie is still top. You are still second, and so on. And I am probably still bottom, I would believe. I haven't had a single correct score this year. And we're nearly at Christmas. So let's hope that we can get there. But that just kind of wrap us up. We will be back next week to discuss the City game and then to discuss all the games we've got coming up, which is a lot, to be fair. Quickly, I will touch on fantasy football. Obviously, there was no FPL show this week, but there will be one definitely next week. In terms of our FPL league, let's just pull that up now. I'm currently sitting in 30th. Dwicky ES with Blue Titani is sitting top of the league at the moment, 732 points. Yeah, it's absolute madness. Let's go down and see who else we've got. I'm going to try and find the first host if I can.
I know I've had I've had a couple of decent good weeks on FPL. I've picked up 110 points over the last 2 weeks. Just throwing it out there.
Just trying to find you now.
I'll still be near the bottom, mate. Don't panic. I'm still playing catch up to everybody.
You're 106 out of 113, but at one point you were rock bottom. So I'd take that. You aren't far off Holly Agenbar. You've got 503 points. She's got 515.
Yes, I did mention on the Hotspur huddle on Wednesday that I'm coming for her. But now she's getting into the habit of trying to change her team. So yeah, I'm just hoping that my team can stay relatively consistent over the next couple of weeks to try and obviously climb the leagues.
I did a wild card and basically just put all the decent players in, and then the rest of the spots are just shitbags who don't get any points.
Yeah.
And that's worked out not too badly for me. 30th place, 646 points, got 52 points, which wasn't the greatest, but wasn't the worst last week. So I don't think anyone did that well. So yeah, all to play for in the FPL group. So if you are in it, make sure you sort your teams out. And if you want to tune in to the boys, the Fat Pod lads, Wednesday, 9 p.m., they'll have all the banter and all the FPL stats from the group, and and how those boys are getting on with their FPL leagues and stuff like that. So yeah, do tune into that, but make sure you come back next week 7 p.m. to discuss more Tottenham Hotspur. Wesley, thanks again for coming on, matey. It's good to see you. And how can everyone find you?
Yeah, always good to be on. Apologies, I've not been on the last couple of weeks. As mentioned at the start, I've been at Spurs and not been able to get back in time. But people can find me on Twitter at Wezo10, unofficial Moussa Dembele fan account, as everyone knows. Saw a lovely highlight reel of the greatest Belgium to ever grace the Premier League the other day. So that definitely put a smile on my face. I'm on Instagram as well, at Wezo32. At the City game on Saturday, and then we'll be at most sort of Spurs home games, throughout the season. So if anybody is around and recognises my face or my dulcet tones, then please come and say hello. I am not that much of a monster. I am quite friendly and approachable, I promise. And yeah, Kickoff Football Academy or at Co for MK for all football coaching stuff that I do in the Milton Keynes area. If anybody doesn't know where it is, Dele Alli and Leah Williamson are also from the same place.
Amazing. Love that. Thanks again, mate. If anyone wants to follow me, you can Luke_Park Lane. Also, shout out to anybody. If anyone's got a Rangers, can get me a Rangers away ticket. There'll be some, I don't know, I'll get you some. I was about to say give you some merch, but we haven't got any yet, to be fair. It's something I'm working on, but I don't know. I'll pay you decent money if you can get me a Rangers away ticket, put it that way, because it's only about 20 minutes from my house, so be gutted if I can't make it. I was even talking this week with my partner's uncle is a Rangers fan, and I was seeing if he could get me a ticket even in the Rangers end, but he's like, I can't even get a ticket. So it was absolutely wild to try and get tickets. If you can, do let me know. But yeah, more importantly, make sure you're clicking the subscribe button. Make sure you're clicking the like button. Also, on any podcast platform, leave us a comment, say great show, guys. And also leave us a 5-star review. We would really appreciate it. But until next time, a massive come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
One, two,